What's going on, YouTube? We are back here today for a little prediction video for the NFL. Okay, if you're tuning in, this is the Fumble Pod. I'm your host, Dalton Lee. Let's just get right into it. We got a lot of games to talk about, a lot of interesting games that are going to be going on this weekend. So we're going to kick it off. We're going to try and go in order of everything. So on Thursday Night Football, we got Seattle Seahawks going to Arizona to play the Cardinals. Cardinals are going to be wearing their new jersey. It's the rivalry jerseys. First time we're actually going to see rivalry jerseys on the field. Interested to see how they look. But that's really besides the point. Not really. Jerseys, you gotta look good. Look good, feel good, play good, pay good. We all know it. So we got battle of the 2-1s, division game for both. Right now, Seattle's a 1.5 point favorite. I don't really blame them. I think Seattle has looked like the more complete team. Granted, Arizona has been in every game that they've played, but I think they got the issue, I feel like, of playing down to their opponents. Like, they're better than the Saints, yet they only win by a score. I would say they're better than the Panthers, yet it came down to a defensive stop and almost blowing a 27-3 lead. They come out of that one. They lose a tough, close one to the 49ers last week. I feel like they let a lot of teams hang around too much, and when you finally start playing good teams, that's not going to happen. I still worry about the consistency of the Arizona offense with Kyler Murray, Marvin Harrison. That offensive line's a little rough. It's going to be Trey Benson's first start as the full-time back. Interested to see how that'll go. Maybe he pops. Maybe he shows a little flash. Maybe he's able to help out Kyler a little bit with a run game that can help open up the pass game. But I don't know. This Seahawks defense is pretty good still. Still pretty good. I think this will be the game that really tells all about Sam Darnold because rough week one, solid bounce back in week two. Week three, play the Saints. You're going to put up career numbers, essentially. And now you got Arizona, who's kind of an in-between. It's on prime time. I'm interested to see how that matchup's going to go with Sam Darnold and his weapons versus Arizona. I am taking Seattle to win this game. I do just think they're the more complete team of the two. I understand they're on the road, but I like more what's going on in Seattle than I do Arizona. And I think even though the coaching staffs are pretty good on both sides, I'm going to lean Seattle. I think they just have more proven playmakers than Arizona does. But if we went in terms of quarterbacks, still up in the air. Next, at 9:30 a.m. on the East Coast, we have the Vikings and the Steelers. This is in Dublin, Ireland. Our first or second international game of the year. Excuse me, I forgot we played in Brazil week one. This is in Dublin. Shout out the Irish. Initially going into this, Minnesota is 2.5 point favorites. I am kind of shocked by that. I know how great they looked last week with Carson Wentz. Jordan Mason had a good game. They still got weapons on the outside. I can't remember if this is the game that Jordan Addison's going to be back or if it's going to be after this week. I can't remember if it was a 3-game or 4-game off the top of my head. But even still, I really want to pick the Vikings, but if we look at the Steelers, that defense hasn't really fully been what we've expected. I know they had a better game last week against the Patriots, forced 5 turnovers, had some big plays. It's just going to be a matter of can they be consistent. And in terms of offense, the offense has still been pretty solid. I think it's the most consistent quarterback play that they've had in a handful of years for sure, with Aaron Rodgers at the helm, DK Metcalf on the outside, Jalen Warren, Kenneth Gainwell. All those guys are kind of slowly getting into a groove. That offensive line's actually been a lot better than I thought they would be this year. But my biggest concern is how are they going to play against this Vikings defense. This Viking defense has been very good all year. They forced 7 turnovers last week. Had a monster week. And I'm thinking if the Vikings defense can continue to be as dominant and the Steelers are constantly having to go 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, and putting their defense on the field, who already hasn't really looked that good, the Vikings are going to take advantage. I I talked myself into it. I'm taking the Vikings. I'm taking the Vikings outright. It's the Carson Wentz experience, baby. We love it. He's gonna go out there and sling the ball for 1,000,000 yards, probably throw 15 touchdowns and 10 interceptions. It's great. I think of this guy as like my white Jameis Winston. I love it. I love him. Just put him out there. Give us entertainment. Sure, there's gonna be some bad throws, but guess what? There's gonna be some great throws, and we're gonna be like, how is this guy not starting? Well, you'll still find out. Just wait till they play a good team. But Carson Wentz experience. Next, we have the Carolina Panthers at 1 o'clock going to Foxborough to play the Patriots. Currently, New England's a 5.5 point favorite. I understand Carolina is coming off of a big shutout win against the Falcons. The only concern is there's been some injuries on that Panthers defense, especially on the D line. Wadham is looking like he might be coming back. Patrick Jones popped up with a hamstring issue. Wadham's coming back from a hip injury. So it's going to be interesting how much playing time those vets get versus the rookies. And their run defense hasn't been super great, the Panthers. And the Patriots have a couple running backs that they like to feed the ball to, between Ramondre Stevenson and Antonio Gibson, which is weird. I figured the rookie from Ohio State, Travion Henderson, I figured he would have gotten more touches because he was going off in the preseason. Maybe this is the week he gets some touches just to change things up because Ramondre did have 2 fumbles last week. Don't know how many more times you want to go back to that guy, especially if maybe he starts this game with 1. I will say it is going to be kind of an ugly offensive day, I think, from both sides. The Panthers still haven't been super consistent throwing the ball. They can hit on their pass plays now and then, but I would like to see a little more consistency out of them. Whereas the Patriots are kind of in the same boat. The only difference is I think Carolina's got a potential better number 1 wide receiver than the Patriots at this point, only because T-Mac is young, athletic, whereas, I mean, yeah, they got Stephon Diggs, but he hasn't really done anything to show that he still is a number 1 guy. So I think it's going to truly come down to battle of defenses. I think it could be an ugly game, but I think I'm going to take New England to win it. They're at home. They're going to have their home crowd pulling for them, which pains me to say. But I think the Panthers could keep it close. I think they can cover spread. Spread's 5.5. I think Panthers could, if they lose, could be within a field goal. So, it is what it is. But who knows? Who knows? But I am going to go with New England there. Next on 1 o'clock, we got the undefeated Chargers going to New York to play the defeated Giants. Jackson Dart's getting his first start. And honestly, I kind of hate this for him. Just because, hey, you're a rookie. You ain't played in the NFL yet. Here you go. Here's your start. You got to play one of the best teams in the NFL. Good luck. But we've seen this before from a couple of rookies, especially when the guy that's opposite of him, Justin Herbert, made his first start. He had to make his first start against the Chiefs. And he only found out a mere hour before or so. And he balled out. I would almost say he played better than Patrick Mahomes in that game. Not saying Jackson Dart's going to do that, but if Jackson Dart can show flashes against this type of team, New York might have something on their hands, something good. Between him, the other rookie, Cam Scatterbo, is going to start. I think Jackson Dart early and often is going to look to go to Malik Neighbors. That's going to be a safety blanket, I feel like, just because that's their best weapon on the outside. But with all that being said, this is the LA Chargers. They have looked like, in my opinion, the best football team in the NFL this year. And I think they're going to continue on that trend. I'm not saying they're going to blow out the Giants by no means. I think the Giants still have a really good defensive line, I should say. That'll still cause issues for Herbert. I worry about their back end, though, and that's where the Chargers are going to outweigh them, strictly because their weapon talent. I mean, Quentin Johnston's starting to look like an actual playmaker now. They still got Ladd McConkey. Keenan Allen is just the perfect wide receiver for his age. Doesn't have to be over the top. He just gets open, makes contested catches, everything you'd need. I think not the Rams, the Chargers have to get a better run game going. But I think with Najee going out and Amarion Hampton starting to get a lot of carries, I think it's going to help because Amarion showed flashes last week. He popped off some big runs, scored his first NFL touchdown. There could be some good momentum swinging for them with some new pieces getting added in. I am going to take Chargers to win this game. I do still think overall they have the better roster, better coaching staff, and they're just humming right now, which, is probably going to hurt a lot of Giants fans because you're excited to see your rookie play. Even if he has an ugly game, I wouldn't count him out. This is a tough matchup for him to make his first start in, but again, if he can look somewhat decent for his first start against a team that good, hopefully he can only go up from there. Next, a lackluster AFC divisional matchup. We have the 0-3 Titans going to Houston to play the 0-3 Texans. I'm be honest, I'm not looking forward to watching this game at all. I mean, the only exciting thing is that you got the number 1 pick, Cam Ward, playing against a former number 2 pick and one of the top 5 defenses. And I think he's going to have, again, another rough day. That defense, I feel like, is going to dominate him up and down. And maybe this can be a jumping pad point for CJ Stroud in the offense to finally get some things going against a very underachieving, underwhelming Titans defense. Texans are favored 7.5. I think they win by more at home. I think they finally start getting some of the pieces to roll and maybe can turn around their season. I mean, their division isn't super competitive outside the Colts, but that's not a great game I want to watch. Just like this next one, the Commanders are going to go to Atlanta and play the Falcons. As of right now, I believe Marcus Mariota is still going to be the starter. I don't think Jaden Daniels is going to come back. They initially said 2-4. They said he's starting to fast track to come back quicker, but I still think they'll sit him out this week. The Commanders are opening up as favorites. It would not surprise me if the Falcons come out firing just because they want to quickly get over that terrible loss in Carolina. I think the Falcons still have more playmakers on offense. The defense is really going to be the biggest question. Whose defense can show up more and consistently? The Falcons' defense is solid, is better than what they were last year, but I think the Commanders are better coached on both sides, and I think the Commanders can squeeze out a win. Not saying they're going to blow them out of the water or nothing, but they can squeeze by and get another win without Jaden Daniels being there. So I'm taking the Commanders. I think Marcus Mariota is just going to be able to manage that game enough to not put him in a situation to lose. And that's all they need from him right now. I'm still not completely sold on Michael Penix yet either, which is weird to say. I trust Mariota more than Penix. I don't know why, but we're rolling with it. Next, another bad 1 o'clock game. There's a lot of bad 1 o'clock games. It's weird. I say bad on paper. Who knows? One of these might be a great 1 o'clock game. That's normally how these goes. You look at it and you're like, ugh, these are the 1 o'clock games, and you get there and there's like, hey, there's like 2 or 3 games that are really close. And that's what makes it great. The Saints are going to Buffalo to play the Bills. 3-0 versus 0-3. I'm not going to spend too much time on this. Josh Allen is the man. James Cook is the man. I think they need to be a little more consistent with trying to figure out who's their main pass catcher. I think at this point it is starting to lean more towards Dalton Kincaid, which isn't terrible. He's a very good tight end. But I do think you still need outside weapons that can make some plays every now and then. And I still think Keon Coleman can be that guy. They just haven't gotten to that point. But it wouldn't shock me if this game turns into another Seattle versus Saints like it was this past week. I think if it gets ugly that quick, I think you need to go to Shuck earlier because you need to figure out. Obviously, things aren't going to be working potentially with Rattler. You got to see what the rookie you just picked has. Maybe he's got something in him and just needs to get into a rhythm. But again, this Saints defense is not good. The offense isn't very consistent. Quarterback play is arguably some of the worst in the league. I don't see a world where the Saints are very competitive in this game outside of the opening kickoff. So I'm taking Buffalo hard, just hammering it. Now we get into an actual interesting 1 o'clock game. This is probably easily the best. We have two undefeated teams. We have the Philadelphia Eagles traveling to Tampa Bay to play the Buccaneers. And I know a lot of people are going to be watching this game. This is definitely a game I'm going to be watching. Because we just watched this Eagles team have to come back and beat the LA Rams at home, down 26-3. And they pulled it off. They still showed that they can make on offense outside of the run game. They looked really good. That defense turned it up. They were able to make plays. Again, they had 2 blocked field goals last week. And you got a Bucs team that this is probably the most vulnerable they're going to be. The offensive line isn't 100% healthy. The top wide receiver they have is Emeka Egbuka right now. I don't think Evans is going to play. Chris Godwin's still out. But pretty sure Jalen McMillan is still out. So you're going to be rolling out there Egbuka, Sterling Shepard, Cade Otton, Rashad White, and Bucky Irvin. I think this is going to be the game where you're asking too much out of Baker to have to make plays. And I'm going to roll with the Eagles in this one. They're 3.5-point favorites. I understand it's in Tampa. That Tampa defense is still good, but I just think at the moment, the Eagles are the healthier team. They're just going to find a way to win. And again, I can see these two teams playing in the playoffs, and it could go completely different. I like the Bucs when they're healthy. That offense will be insane when they're healthy. The only problem is they're a little banged up right now. So I'm going to roll with the Eagles just because they're more healthy. They got better playmakers, too, especially because of the health. Then we got the 1-2 Browns, who snuck out a win against the Packers, going to Detroit, coming off of a big win against the Ravens. Initially, when I'm looking at this, I'm like, the Browns have a very good defense. Lions are coming off a high against a big win. It kind of smells like trap game, which is normally a term we'll use in college football. But nonetheless, the Lions did show that they can play very good defense. They had 7 sacks last week on Lamar Jackson. And I do think the Lions are going to continue to carry their momentum that they've started in week 2 and roll through this one as well. Their offense is just so much more consistent than the Browns. And it's just coming from the quarterback level. The quarterbacks, I like Joe Flacco, but you got to hang him up, man. You got to hang him up. It's just, I'm not saying this could be a very ugly game where it's one-sided, but it would not shock me just with how much this Lions team is clicking on all cylinders right now. Especially in the run game. They had a big running day last week. We'll be interested to see how well they're able to run it against this Browns front. They are number 1 in defensive run yards allowed a game. But I still trust the Detroit playmakers more and more. So I'm going to just roll with Detroit. Not really second guess it here. Next we have the Jacksonville Jaguars, 2-1, playing the 3-0 49ers. I still like to think I don't know a whole lot about Jacksonville. They haven't really showed a whole lot. They were able to run the ball first 2 weeks, and then last week they couldn't really do it. The pass game still looked very questionable. And I understand they played a great defense, but this 49ers defense has also been playing out of their mind. And I would say I would trust the offense of the 49ers more than Jacksonville right now. Now, at this point, I don't know. I'm pretty sure Mac Jones is still going to start this game. It hasn't been 100% confirmed yet, I believe, at the time of this recording. But I think regardless, between Christian McCaffrey, Ricky Pearsall, that offensive line unit, they're going to make it work. I am going to take the 49ers to win this game outright. It wouldn't shock me if Jacksonville kind of keeps it close. The defense has been a little stingy. Maybe they pop a big play. Maybe Brian Thomas Jr. finally decides to show up, but I'm not banking on it a whole lot. I think the 49ers are better on both sides of the ball right now. And that's just what really matters. They got better playmakers. I think this is arguably my favorite 4 o'clock game of this week. You got the undefeated Indianapolis Colts traveling to LA to play the Rams. Rams are coming off a tough loss. They were going toe-to-toe with defending Super Bowl champs. You have 2 field goals blocked. 2 that could have potentially given you the win in that game. and you're unable to come up with it. But you got an Indianapolis Colts team that is just rolling through people right now. They beat a good Denver Broncos team. Yes, they beat up on a bad Titans team. Yes, they beat up on a bad Dolphins team. This is going to be probably the best team they've played so far this year. The question, this will be the game that determines, is Daniel Jones really that guy? Is this offense really that good? Is that defense really that good? And we know what the Rams got. The Rams got a great defense, great young defense, especially that defensive front between Brisk and Verse. Man, they hit on those picks, and they still got playmakers. They got Puka Nakua, who had a great game last week. Devontae Adams, who had a really good game for his age. Matthew Stafford's still out there slinging the rock. Kyron Williams just going off. This is one of the, I think, tougher games to pick this week for sure. Because logically, I would look at this and be like, I trust McVay more. But there's just something with this Colts team, and I'm gonna roll with it. I'm gonna roll with the Colts. I think the Colts are gonna finally prove that, hey, this is a really good team. They don't just have cupcake schedules. This is a good team. Not saying they're gonna blow out the Rams, probably win by a score, but I do think the Colts are gonna show that they deserve to be in that conversation of teams that should be on the lookout, being like, hey, this team is playing really good right now. We should probably worry about them just a tad. So I'm going to roll with the Colts in this one. I think they're going to cover that spread at 3.5 easily and probably win outright. The next game we have, which is weird because at the beginning of the year you're like, this is going to be a great game. I don't really know now. 1-2 Ravens are going to Arrowhead to play the 1-2 Chiefs. Chiefs coming off of a somewhat lackluster win against the Giants, and the Ravens coming off of another heartbreaking loss to the Lions. I will still say, like, Baltimore's favored 2.5. I still would say the Baltimore Ravens are the better team. Patrick Mahomes just hasn't looked right this year. Travis Kelce looks like what he has the last year or so. Xavier Worthy did practice today, so he might come back and play in this game, which could be big. That's another over-the-top guy. I'm just worried about this Ravens defense. They're so up and down. They played great against the Browns, but then they played bad against the Lions, obviously, and played bad against the Bills late. Even though, if I was going off of quarterback play, Lamar's playing 10 times better than Mahomes is currently, which is weird to say because you would say, you would argue one side or the other. I think Lamar is playing head and shoulders above Patrick Mahomes, especially right now. And I think that's going to be the difference in this game. I think Lamar's going to come out and try and shoulder a lot of the offense, and he's going to make it happen. I think Baltimore's going to come in, win this game, try to turn their season around. Maybe Derrick Henry gets a little redemption, has a clean game, no fumbles, and has a big day. It's just weird to say that regardless of how this game goes, one of the two teams we would say coming into this year being like they're contenders in that conference are going to be 1-3. It's going to be so weird to say that. And a lot of people are going to try and write them off early. I still wouldn't do that regardless of who loses this game, but it's going to be some scary times because their schedules probably only get harder, especially within their divisions. But I'm going to roll with the Ravens in that one. The last 4 o'clock game. You have the Chicago Bears going to Vegas to play the Raiders. Bears coming off of a blowout win against the Cowboys. Raiders are coming off of I can't remember. I should remember. It's what I'm literally trying to do for a living. They did they not play last week? No, they're coming off of a loss against the Commanders. That's right, because the Commanders' special teams killed them. I really don't know what to say about either team. I am not 100% sold on the Bears yet. I understand they had a great game last week, but it looks like this year a lot of teams are having great games against that Cowboys secondary. But I would still say that the Bears have more overall playmakers on offense compared to the Raiders. The Raiders have Geno Smith, Ashton Jeanty, Trey Tucker had a monster game last week. Jacoby Myers is still there. They still got Brock Bowers and Michael Mayer. I think, I do think the Bears are going to win this game. They're barely favorites by 1.5. And I think the Bears might gain a little more momentum going into Vegas and beating them. The only thing that kind of worries me is that Bears defense. But the Raiders defense isn't that great either. I understand they got Mad Max. Mad Max is good. Mad Max is great. But I'm actually no. There's no way I can pick the Bears. No way. I'm taking the Raiders. I think the Raiders are going to win this game. I think this might be the game that Genty is actually able to establish himself as an NFL running back. Bears haven't really been able to stop the run all year. And if they can get to that point where the Bears are trying to play comeback heroes on them, that might be where you get Caleb at his worst and force a turnover or two. Because he has shown that. We saw that in the Vikings game. We saw that in the Lions game. He didn't have to do that in the Cowboys game. They had to lead pretty much the whole game, so they didn't have to fret about trying to get back in it. They were in it the whole time because they were leading. I think the Raiders might be able to jump out to a lead, hold on to the lead, and get Caleb rattled and have him make a mistake or two, whether it's a turnover or a bad miss on third down. I'm going to roll with the Raiders in this one. That's just my gut feelings, what I'm rolling with. And then the Sunday night game. Green Bay Packers going to Jerry World. Play Jerry Jones's Cowboys. Micah's making his return to Dallas. They're also saying Micah is about right there in football shape again. So saying he might play quite a bit in this. And I'm thinking he will. I think he wants to play every moment he can when the defense is on the field. He wants to prove a point that he was worth all that money, not only to all those Dallas fans, which I'm pretty sure a lot of them would have paid him, and that ownership in that front office. It would not shock me with a banged up offensive line for the Cowboys if Micah has a big game. Would not shock me. And I still think, even with the tough loss last week, I think the Packers are going to ride the ship and just show that they're the better team. This Cowboys defense is no good. It wouldn't shock me if the Packers come out and finally establish a run game. This would be the perfect game to get that cohesion with your offensive line to figure it out. Jordan Love might be out there slicing and dicing to his weapons. There's not a lot of hope really for the Cowboys. CeeDee Lamb's out. I don't think Dak Prescott is the type of quarterback to carry you through offensive line injuries and bad defense with somewhat underachieving running game. Dak's not going to be able to keep you afloat and win this game, especially against this team. I don't see it. So I'm going to roll with the Packers here. They are 6.5 point favorites. I think they cover that easily. I mean, the Packers are still arguably one of the best teams in the NFL as well. They got one of the better rosters. That defense is still phenomenal. I think the offense just had a bad week last week. That happens. We've seen that happen. We saw it happen to the Lions when they played the Packers week 1. Had a bad week of offense. Look at them since then. I think the same effect is going to happen with the Packers. They're going to have a bounce back game and not cruise through this, but I think there'll be a lot of people that stop watching after halftime. Now we got, honestly, 2 somewhat abysmal Monday night games. That's right, we have 2. We have a 7 o'clock and, it's 7:15 and 8:15. So pick your poison, I guess. 0-3 Jets go to play the 0-3 Dolphins. I'm not going to talk on this one a whole lot. I do think the Dolphins still have somewhat more talent than the Jets on both sides of the ball. It's in Miami. I don't have a whole lot of hope for the Jets offense. At least with the Dolphins offense from last week, they look like a somewhat more capable offense. The only real turnover for the Dolphins was that interception to basically end the game when you were down a score trying to get back in it. I don't know if it's going to be a very pretty game, but I am going to take the Dolphins. I just think they still have too much talent to lose to the Jets. Jets defense is still looking to trend better, but I think the Dolphins' offense is just outright better. I'm taking the Dolphins. And then a Monday night matchup that initially going into week one was probably going to be a good game. You have 2-1 Bengals going to Denver to play the 1-2 Broncos. Going in, you're like, this is going to be a good game. You have no Joe Burrow. You got Jake Browning playing. That offense really hasn't gotten into a groove yet this year. I understand it's hard to get into a groove when you got to play a good defense week one. Week two, your quarterback gets hurt. You have to scratch out a win. Week three, you get demolished by a great defense yet again. Now you're going to Denver to play a really good defense, a team coming off of a tough loss against arguably one of the best teams in the AFC against the Chargers. I think the Broncos are going to come out and just try and dominate this game. That Bengals defense is not good. Would not shock me if the Broncos try to run all over them to open up this passing game and let Bo Nix just be able to rip it a couple times. Again, the Broncos are more of a complete team. They're more healthy. They have more continuity going for them. Whereas the Bengals, that defense is not very good. It's Jake Browning going against a really tough defensive line. I don't see a world where the Bengals win. Bengals might be able to keep it close for a bit just because they do still have Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, but they're not going to ultimately go out there and win you this game per se, especially because that offensive line is going to let you down quite a bit. That's all I got for you this week. If you're new here, hit the like button, subscribe, drop a comment down below. If you think one of my picks is just completely and utterly wrong, I'm going to politely respond and disagree. Unless you make a good point, then we'll open a discourse. Or if you think I'm just a ball knower, you can say that too. I think I am, but we don't know yet. It's still early. But, again, until next time, deuces.